We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
By now it seems that we've all been told the many and widely varying theories of the events of September 11th, 2001. The official story of 9/11 presents that a group of extremist Muslim terrorists, known as Al-Qaeda, planned and orchestrated the attacks. Yet others have told us that among the responsible are U.S. President George Bush Jr., U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney, and a variety of other criminal elements in the United States government. These two conceptions are central to the 9/11 story, while there is some argument on the latter side as to how the events took place. Some theories as to the science of the attacks have presented that the impact of two planes and a fire fueled by jet fuel, which is mostly kerosene, brought down 3 concrete and reinforced steel buildings. Those structures would be World Trade Center Building 1, Building 2, and World Trade Center Building 7. Others posit that controlled demolitions were planted in the towers. It is not in the scope of this video to prove nor dispute the science of how the towers came down that fateful day. However, it is our belief that among such theories, the case showing demolitions has been the most sound. Our intentions in this chapter are to specifically show you who was responsible for this mass murder of Americans. We will examine a group of people who are a corrosive mafia with a racial and religious cohesion. It will become clear how fraudulent theories concerning 9/11 have been fomented and end up benefiting this group, and how the foundational crime of September 11th has been the catalyst for multiple and far-reaching crimes by this well-organized, supremacist mafia. It's time we achieve the long-awaited complete truth of what happened on 9/11, because the future of humanity depends upon it. There are 2 documents which are central to understanding the intricate planning for the events of September 11th. The first is titled A Clean Break, a New Strategy for Securing the Realm, and shortened to the ACB Doc. The ACB was created in Israel at the IASPS. The core of the document illustrated a systematic plan to conquer the Middle East by engineering a flawless image of Israel and promoting the state as a great ally of the United States. The ACB Doc was essentially duplicated in the so-called Republican think tank called the Project for a New American Century, also referred to as PNAC. The same Jewish authors of the ACB Doc wrote PNAC's paper called Rebuilding America's Defenses, in which they called for a catalyzing event, like a new Pearl Harbor. PNAC is at first called a Republican think tank, but finds itself later termed a neocon or neoconservative group. The reality is that neocon is just another layer of the onion that covers up the existence of the Jewish criminal network. So long as they keep calling the network anything other than specifically a Jewish criminal network, then their greatest strength which is their racial cohesion, goes undetected. PNAC, the Project for a New American Century, was not a neocon or even a Zionist think tank, but a Jewish criminal think tank. This crime network existed long before Zionism was ever codified. Therefore, it is absolutely appropriate and necessary for us to refer to it as the Jewish criminal network, as opposed to merely using the term Zionism, although that term is sometimes employed. PNAC consists of several non-Jewish criminal personalities, but be certain that its primary function is to serve the will of the Jewish mafia and the terrorist state of Israel. Some of the Jewish members of the Project for a New American Century are Elliot Abrams, John Bolton, Paula Dobriansky, Robert Kagan, William Kristol, Richard Pearl, Peter Rodman, William Schneider Jr., Paul Wolfowitz. Preparation for the attacks of September 11, 2001 did not just come in the form of how it would be engineered, but how the resulting energy from the socio-political, economic, and emotional upheaval could be directed and utilized to the benefit of the criminal cabal. American policy would become neocon policy. Yet the term neocon, once again, is misleading, as what we are really talking about are the goals of a Jewish power elite and the hundreds of thousands of everyday Jews who serve in their massive Zionism network. The power structure that would funnel the erupting force of 9/11 can be seen in the three distinct but interlocking categories. The first is the defense arm, with members Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Pearl, Douglas Fife, Elliot Abrams, and David Wormser. This group was tasked with orchestrating a policy of preemptive action toward the Middle East in order so it may be reformed or remade in their vision. They further sought to substantially increase foreign aid to Israel, encourage joint weapons development, open up doors for new homeland security business opportunities, and legitimize the genocidal takeover of Palestine. The means by which they would achieve these objectives would be through inserting themselves and their cohorts in think tanks, defense policy boards, Defense Department contractors, talk shows, and investment banks. The second arm of the cabal was to be the pro-Israel press, formed of David Brooks, Lawrence Kaplan, William Kristol, and Norman Podhoretz, among other numerous personalities. Their objectives were to create the idea of the danger of Islam, render all Arab governments illegitimate in the public mind, make illegitimate any land for peace initiatives, and secure the idea that our primary American objective must be to defend Israel. This was achieved through the American Enterprise Institute, Jewish Institute for National Security Affairs, or JINSA, Heritage Foundation reports, as well as the Weekly Standard, the New Republic, Commentary Magazine, and through the American Jewish Committee. The final tentacle of the cabal is the group of columnists who directly swayed public opinion. Four major personalities, among others, are Robert Kagan, Charles Krauthammer, Max Boot, and William Safire. They sought to paint Palestinian militants as terrorists, create a linkage between 9/11 and all Arab governments, make anyone critical of Israel and the Jewish criminal mafia out to be an anti-Semite, and make Israelis heroes in the minds of Americans. The movie You Don't Mess with the Zohan, starring Jewish actor Adam Sandler, serves these final objectives expertly by slipping under the radar as mere entertainment.
He is the greatest Israeli soldier the world has ever known. His training is lethal, and his skills are legendary.
In October 2000, approximately 11 months prior to September 11, 2001, a former Israeli Defense Force, or IDF member, and veteran of the Yom Kippur War, 1973, was collecting English ivy cuttings at the Gomel Chesed Cemetery located at McKellen and 245 Mount Olive Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. The Gamel Chesed Cemetery is a Jewish cemetery. While he was scouting the cemetery for ivy cuttings, he overheard what he believed to be a conversation spoken in Hebrew, which drew his attention. As he watched and listened, a third man arrived to the meeting in a Lincoln town car. What the observer of these happenings heard, after normal niceties were exchanged between the three men, alarmed him. The man who arrived in the town car said,
"The Americans will learn what it is to live with terrorists after the planes hit the Twins in September."
One of the men that had been leaning against the retaining wall expressed concerns regarding whether the upcoming presidential election, November 2000, between Bush and Cheney and Gore and Lieberman could impact the plans. The man that arrived in the town car pacified the doubts by saying,
"Don't worry, we have people in high places, and no matter who gets elected, they will take care of everything."
According to his account, on 9th February 2001, approximately 8 months prior to the airplanes being flown into the Twins, he sent an email to then Attorney General Ashcroft, informing the Attorney General that he had important terrorism-related information. The U.S. Department of Justice did not directly respond to the source. It forwarded the email to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Shortly thereafter, on 28th March 2001, the source received a letter from Arthur Radford Baker, FBI, informing him that if he had information to share, he should contact the FBI Newark Division. The source contacted the FBI Newark Division and was told that 2 agents would be in contact with him, but no FBI agents came at that time. The source continued to call the FBI Newark Division in an attempt to pass his information on to the agency. He wanted to do this in person to ensure that it wasn't carelessly discarded or dismissed. He also sought a guarantee of protection by the FBI. As September 2001 drew closer, he grew more impatient. He began to act with a sense of urgency because, in his words, quote, "time was running out." As he was getting nowhere with the FBI Newark Division, the source decided to write a letter to Arthur Bradford Baker on 21st May 2001. The person that sent the letter advising him that he should contact the FBI Newark Division. In this letter, the source reiterated that he had important information to share with the government, but would need a guarantee of protection by the FBI before he could disclose all that he knew. On the day that the source received a response letter from Arthur Radford Baker, 26th June 2001, now less than 3 months prior to the 9/11 attacks, 2 FBI agents finally paid a visit. They were Agent Robin Gritz and Agent Andrew Stengel. The agents were shown the second letter received that day from Arthur Radford Baker by the source. The letter informed the source that the FBI would not be able to do anything on his behalf. Here's some intelligence concerning the NSA. Yet another report focuses on the Israeli-based private communications company Amdocs, where a number of 60 detained suspects worked. Most directory assistance calls and virtually all call records and billing in the U.S. are done for the telephone companies by Amdocs Ltd., which has contracts with the 25 largest phone companies in the U.S. and more worldwide. It is virtually impossible to make a call on a landline without generating an Amdocs record. Through Amdocs, it would be possible to keep ahead of investigators by knowing who they are calling. In 1999, the Maryland-headquartered National Security Agency issued a top-secret report warning that records of calls in the United States were ending up in foreign hands, Israel in particular. Investigators do not believe calls are being bugged, but the data about who is calling whom and when is very valuable in itself. On 10th September 2001, just 24 hours before the World Trade Center attack, the Washington Times ran an article quoting intelligence sources who described Israel's Mossad as, quote, "a wild card, ruthless and cunning, and has the capability to target U.S. forces and make it look like a Palestinian Arab act," unquote. Moreover, they said it was generally known